Hey everybody, it's Dave Mattis with Remax of Reading and the Dave Mattis team, and I'm here today with Jackie Mitten, Melanie Mattis, and Dave Renninger from my team. And guess what? You've seen us do some interviews of our team, and what do you do? What do you specialize in? Well, guess what? I'm the one being interviewed today. So take it away, guys.
Okay, my question, Dave, is you are set up as a seller's agent, right? The three of us are buyer's agent. Why the whole team concept?
That's a great question, Dave. The reason that we're set up this way, to give you a little bit of background, I had been on a couple of teams actually in my career, working strictly as a buyer's agent, and finally left the last team that I was on, I think back in 2010, and I ended up getting so busy that we just kind of made a natural progression. Things were getting busier, things were falling through the cracks. Guess what? Melanie became my first assistant. Then she got her license. And then Dave, you joined the team because you were always in the office working, and then you actually covered for us. So what I've found is that once you get to a certain level of business, things start to fall through the cracks, and you just don't feel like you can service everybody. Does that make sense? I mean, that's kind of what the reasoning that I put into it. And then to finish up a little bit more, I feel that specializing in one thing, doing one thing really, really well is like one of the things that works the best for our team. Like you guys are all over it with your buyers, especially in this crazy market right now. And then when someone comes to me to sell their house, they know they're getting this person that 24/7. All we do is market, negotiate, and sell. So, all right. How about you?
My question: before you became a real estate agent, so way back, however Stone Ages.
In the Dark Ages.
In the Dark Ages.
Thanks, Jackie.
What did you do, and why did you decide to become a real estate agent and get into real estate?
It's a really good question as well. So it was 1995, and I was going through a divorce. I had met Mel. We were getting married. We were going on our honeymoon, and oh, by the way, I was going to get into real estate and start a new career. So I was selling paint and wallpaper with Big Al, the painter's pal, Al Stoltz. But part owner of that business was Walter Greth, and I sort of reached the end of my time there. And started, talking to mentors and different things, my father and Walter Greth and a couple other people. And it's like, what's next for Dave Mattis? And Walter said, why don't you sell my houses in the very gruff Walter Greth version. And as it turns out, Dennis Fick and, Dennis Fick at Troyland Fick in Sinking Spring was the listing agent for all of Walter's houses. So I went and interviewed with Pete Champagne, who is still in the business today. And so I got into real estate kind of by accident, which happens to a lot of people, but it has obviously stuck. So I think that's a good thing. But great question.
I got into it by accident, but you kind of made me.
Yeah, it just sort of happens that way. And then if it sticks, you're good. So.
Okay. So what is the craziest thing that has ever happened to you on either a listing appointment or a showing appointment?
You know what? We were talking about this a little bit earlier. The two things come to mind because something new comes to mind, and I don't know if either of them are appropriate. But the biggest thing that I recall from showings being so strange is flatulence. And no offense, clients, but there are clients when I was showing houses that would just like feel quite free to just let it rip all the way from. So look, we're all human. So, but that's the first thing, and then the second thing. I don't know if this will need to be edited out or not, but. I saw a sex swing in a house, so I took a picture.
I don't know if it needs to be edited. Think about that house down in Montgomery or Bucks
Oh,
County.
my God.
That was kind of set up that way versus it just being out in the open.
Yeah, and someone just let it out and just didn't care, I guess.
Didn't
so
put it away in time.
whatever. And God bless America. So. Any other questions? What else can you guys think of?
Okay.
Something more practical, maybe?
Well, okay, I don't get the segue here, but obviously this market's a little funky because it's definitely a seller's market, and you've been around a lot longer than the three of us probably put together. So you've been in the cyclical different markets, and so how do you see this playing out in the next year or so?
And have you seen anything this crazy? Like, has it ever been this bad? Where it's good for you, but our buyers are like fighting for houses.
It's a really good question, and that's a great point. So in 2000 to 2005, I was actually doing mortgages. I got out of the real estate business for 5 years. So that period of time would have been I feel, a very similar time to this. So I didn't get to experience it from the real estate end. I got to experience it from the mortgage end, but then I got in the business in the middle of 2005 and then experienced it for like all the way through 2009, which is really when it took a dive here in Berks County. So, so I have seen it before. It just feels a little bit different though this time. I'm not quite sure why. Well, actually, one of the reasons that pops into my mind why is back then we had tons of new construction to choose from. So now we kind of don't have that. We have, everybody's just fighting for houses, and for whatever reason, we're missing a component for the move-up buyer. So where does the 250 buyer go? They don't have that $350,000 new construction house to get to, or 275 or whatever. So, so I've seen it. I've seen quite a few cycles, and I think the thing, that what I love about us is how, no matter what the market's like, we just put our head down and work. So hopefully that answers your question. Anything else?
What's your favorite thing about the real estate business in general? About why are you so passionate? I mean, because you're pretty passionate about the business.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have to tell you, this is kind of weird, but when someone gives me a referral, so one of my past clients, one of my people in my networking groups, or one of my friends, my family, when someone gives me a referral and says, Dave, I want you to use, or, Dave, I want you to call this person because I think you're going to treat them well, or they say to that person, you got to use these guys, it still gives me a thrill. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then, of course, when you actually follow through, you get a contract and you kind of step through the process, it's super, super rewarding. So, yeah, great question. Anything else? I think that does it for this edition of Get to Know the Dave Mattis Team. Thanks, everybody.